Hi everybody, welcome to the channel. If you are new to our channel, what we do is we kind of just make some bike videos for the older rider, people in their 40s, 50s, 60s, maybe people have been riding for a while, maybe people that are new or even thinking about riding. What we like to do is just kind of show the side of the older rider. Maybe we're not as fast as we used to be, maybe we can't climb up that hill like we could 20, 30 years ago. Maybe we're just a little bit stiffer. But we just like to have fun, and we just kind of like to show ourselves just doing it warts and all. If you have been a viewer of the channel, welcome back. What we're going to do today is kind of a combination of my two favorite things. One is biking, as some of you may know. The other is, well, food.
Get in my belly!
So we're going to do what I'm going to call bikes and barbecue. We're going to get some meat going, we're going to get it on the grill, and we're going to go for a little ride. Then we'll come back, see how the meat's doing, and have some fun along the way. I know what you're going to say. Hey, Jackalope, it's almost the end of the summer. Why are you doing a barbecue segment now? To that I say, anytime's a good time for barbecue. So let's get started. So I'm using the baby back ribs. I know some people like spare ribs. I like them both. I usually just pick up what's on sale. We're going to get it all prepped. We're going to get it on the smoker, and then we're going to go for a ride. I like to use a little yellow mustard to just kind of put on as a binding. It doesn't really affect the taste at all. I just put it there just so the spices will stick. Let's talk spices. For my family, they don't like a lot of heavy seasoning on their ribs. They just like to have plain old salt and pepper. And I will use a little bit of rub, but I'm not going heavy on the rub because my family doesn't like it. Whatever you guys want to do for yours, that's fine. There's no wrong way in that regard. So basically I just use an empty container and I fill it with equal parts salt, pepper, and a little bit of garlic powder, and then I just shake it up. So that's what I'm going to start with, and that's going to be the majority of the seasoning on this. Once I finish putting the salt and pepper on, then I'm going to add just a little bit of rub. I just like to use some of the McCormick stuff, but like I said, there's a million of them out there, and I actually have tons more, but this is what I just chose to use today, which is a little sweet and smoky. Just a little dusting is what I'm going to put on, and then I might put a little bit more at the end of the cook, but we'll get to that. Adding the seasoning on front and back, make sure you get the sides, and then I'm just going to let it sit for a couple of minutes to let the seasonings kind of absorb a little bit. So the way I'm going to cook these today is I'm going to cook them in my electric smoker, simply because if we're going to go for a ride, I can keep the temperature a little bit more consistent. Since we're going to put them on, forget them for a little while, go for a ride, I chose to do the electric today. So I'm going to try to keep my temperature right around 225 today, and that's why I'm using the electric, because I can just kind of get it up to temperature and it'll stay that way. The one thing that I'm going to do today that's a little bit different than what I normally do is when I smoke ribs, I put them on the smoker for a couple of hours, I pull them off, I wrap them in foil, and then I put them back on and let them cook in the foil for a little while. Well, recently I just picked up some butcher paper that I did for a pork butt a couple of weeks ago, and it turned out really good. So I want to see what the difference is wrapping them in paper or wrapping them in foil. So I'm going to do one rack in foil today, and I'm going to do one rack in paper. And then at the end, we're going to see if there's really any difference at all. So I think that'll be a fun little experiment. So let's get these things on, and then let's get riding.
I decided to hit a trail. It's called Nacho Mama or something, and I hadn't ridden it since sometime last year. And the twist was that I rode it the opposite way we usually ride it. I don't know about you, but sometimes riding a trail the other way makes it feel like a completely different trail altogether. Weather conditions today were actually really nice. For the first time in as long as I can remember, it wasn't terribly hot and humid. It hasn't been a terribly wet season, which usually leads to a lot of riding, but it has been particularly hot this year. Most of August rarely got out of the 90s. That's just too hot for me, and I tend to avoid it. Now that the weather is starting to change, I'm going to make a serious effort to take advantage in the next couple of months. This was a fun obstacle. There's usually a little side trail that lets you cross at an easier part of the stream.
Going over this.
but I could tell people were attempting this harder crossing and decided to take a stab.
That wasn't what I wanted to do.
Well, it could have been worse. I was about one slippery rock away from flat out laying in this creek. Luckily, it was only some soaked shoes for the rest of the ride.
Wet feet now.
The one thing that I didn't quite realize going this way, or maybe it just flat out changed since I rode it last, was the amount of logs on this trail. Most were manageable like the ones you see, but there were a handful that I'd have to dismount and climb over. Going over logs and other obstacles can be fun and challenging, and I enjoy it, but I also like a trail with a little flow, and so far, there is very little flow. But oh well.
I'm taking this trail kind of slow because it's wet, it's slippery, and I haven't been on it in so long.
The last couple of rides, I've been venturing out on my own. Sometimes I really find it enjoyable to get out by myself. I can set my own pace and not worry about holding anybody back. I can kind of go where the wind takes me and be alone with my own thoughts. I definitely ride more conservatively by myself and take a lot less chances. Not that I do anything crazy anyway. But if any of you have experienced a cracked rib or a broken collarbone will know that it would be no fun stuck several miles into a trail by yourself with that type of injury. So at my age, I play it safe. What do you prefer? Solo riding, being one with nature, or riding in a pack, pushing your limits? Let me know in the comments below. Once I got out of Log Mania, I headed over to another familiar trail I hadn't been on all year. A trail called Garretts Pass. It's a fairly easy trail and has a fun flowy payoff at the end. However, the nicer the weather it is, the higher chance you'll be running into hikers along the way that will interrupt your flow. I feared that would be the case today, but somehow, I got lucky.
Nobody behind me.
Okay, thanks.
Funnest it's been in a while.
Okay, it's been a couple hours, so let's get back and see how the ribs are doing.
So it's been about 3 or 4 hours, and I'm going to take the ribs off and start the wrapping process. They're starting to get a nice bark. The ribs are starting to pull away a little bit. Now's a good time to wrap. Like I said before, I'm going to wrap one in foil and one in paper. One thing that I forgot to mention earlier is that when I do my seasoning, I like to kind of do it in different layers. So I tend to only do like the savory at the beginning of the cook. I don't put any sugars on yet because sugar has a tendency to burn. It really probably shouldn't burn at low temperatures, but either way, I just like to kind of get the salt and the pepper and all that to fuse with the meat. And then once we get to wrapping, since the meat won't be exposed to any direct heat once it's wrapped, I'm going to add a little bit of brown sugar just to add a little bit of sweetness to them while they cook in the foil or the paper.
Hours later.
So once I take them out of the foil, I will dust them lightly again with a little bit of rub, put them back on the grill without the foil or paper, just to kind of firm everything up and get that nice crust or that nice bark that we want at the end of our cook.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
All right, ribs are done. Let's pull them off and let's see what we got. All right, well.
So this is the version with the paper. This is one with the foil. I can already tell when I cut it that this one still has a little bit, it's not as fall off the bone, but it's still got some juice. It's tender. It's not dry. This one definitely is a little bit more, got some stretch to it. Tender also. All right. Here's the $1 million question. Let's taste them. So this is the one that was wrapped in the butcher paper. Good bite, clean, not tough. Good flavor, sweet. That's from the sugar and the rub. Not bad. Let's try the one from the foil. I can already tell because the bone came out on this one. So let's just take That's good. Tender, moist. Not real smoky, but I knew it wouldn't be because I didn't use a whole lot of smoke when I cooked it. It's like I said, my family don't really care for a heavy smoke flavor, but it's good. If I had my preference and do it again, definitely go with the foil. Just kind of blended everything a little bit together, made it a little bit more tender the way I like it, a little bit more fall off the bone. But the paper is not bad either. I mean, it's just different, but good. Got a little bone there. All right, so that about wraps it up. I hope you liked this video. I know it was a little bit different, but I'm just trying to mix things up a little bit. If you liked it, please let me know in the comments below. If you didn't like it, please let me know in the comments below. Please hit the subscribe button if you already haven't, and I'll see you next time.